Joining us now, we have David Schoen. He's a criminal and civil rights attorney, investigative reporter, Sara Carter. Let's start with the Rod Rosenstein news. David, let's start with you on the legal side of it. How do you take that?
I take it as an interesting fact to be maybe put on the shelf because it's a dangerous fact. Being a target or subject of an investigation can change overnight. We've seen some bad things happen with some of the people involved here, meaning Mr. Rosenstein and others, the direction, the breadth of this investigation. I don't like to be particularly skeptical, but is this also a way to get Mr. Trump to sit down with Mr. Mueller, something that I've advised strongly against, and any time I've spoken about it? And I don't know. It's an interesting fact. I don't know what to make of it, but it's also nothing locked in stone. Could change any minute.
Why would he bring it up on his own, Sara Carter? And what do you concur with our friend Mr. Schoen?
Yeah, I do. I think that Mr. Schoen, David's brought up a very good point here. I think it's important that he brought it up on his own for one particular purpose, is that he is trying to reassure the president, and we've seen it's a very tumultuous time now, especially with what happened with Michael Cohen, the president's attorney, that look, you're not the target, of an investigation, more like a witness or a subject. We want to reassure you of that fact. But still, I mean, with everything that's happened, with all the documents that were seized, with the battle that's going on right now, we have to ask ourselves this question: what's going to change in the future? Just as Mr. Schoen has stated, I mean, he's an attorney and he understands how these things are played and how these games are played when it comes to cases like this. So I think I would be very cautious. It's the same exact statement that was given to the president earlier on. I think coming from Rosenstein, it's maybe Rosenstein's trying to stop the president or from doing anything, because there have been a lot of rumors that he might be removed, and obviously the president has said that he has no plans on doing that. But of course, the president can change his mind at any point in time. So this is a really cautious game, and everyone seems to be playing, moving their chess pieces in different directions. But look, the investigation is still ongoing. Look how far it went.
Look how far.
Look at what happened with Michael Cohen.
Yeah, look at that. It's so far beyond the mandate. Let me ask this question then, and I'll go to David Schoen first on this. When you bring in the Southern District of New York, I mean, this is a serious. They're serious players there. I mean, Andy McCarthy's been there. I mean, Rudy Giuliani's been. I mean, you have a who's who list of people that have served in that office, and they're known for going after big name people, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are. Look, there's a lot more to this story, I think, than that. Also, one thing that it offers them is something that can't be shut down so easily. In other words, you could shut down the special counsel investigation here for very good reason, but the Southern District thing would still go on. So in some sense, maybe it's an insurance policy. But talking about who's who, remember, a leading member of Mr. Mueller's team was the most recent former head of the public corruption unit in that office that's handling this case now. We know it was in part a referral from Mr. Mueller. Was that fellow involved? I don't know. Unfortunately, who and who's who in all of this investigation seems to be far too important a factor than the facts and justice. Listen, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I'm not big on these Rodney King moments, let's just all get along. I think anyone would be crazy to let their guard down. If you had asked Mr. Rosenstein, Michael Cohen wasn't a target. Nobody told him he was a target of the investigation before he was.
Let me do a follow-up to this. The Attorney General of New York State is a guy by the name of Eric Schneiderman, and he's kind of had his own ongoing battle with Donald Trump going back for a long time. And so he made a proposal earlier today that he wants to actually change some of the laws as it represents in New York. In other words, under the Constitution, individuals are guaranteed the right to protection against double jeopardy. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Ashley Judd was actually very good in that movie. But anyway, he wants to add these exceptions where if somebody got a pardon, I assume they're probably thinking Michael Cohen or somebody like that, that in fact it wouldn't stop them from prosecuting them in New York. What do you make of that move?
I make of it as another one of these sort of anti-Trump, all-new legislative efforts that seem to turn the rule of law and our system on their head simply for an agenda. That's not how we ought to be operating in this country. There are certain things that...
In other words, the timing of this proposal seems odd to you.
Hey, I'm not a big believer in coincidence.
Yeah. Sarah, let's get to the other news here. McCabe, yesterday we went into great detail about the criminal referral from Ron DeSantis and 11 congressmen. I mean, it was a pretty devastating blow, in my opinion, to especially those people involved in this. I think that now will prompt Jeff Sessions to at least do something. Now you have the Inspector General now is criminally referred Andrew McCabe to the U.S. Attorney of D.C.
I think it was expected. And remember, we kept reporting that. I mean, the evidence is there. The Inspector General had the evidence that McCabe lied. Eventually, he came out with it publicly. McCabe was fired before that, before the Inspector General went public, before Attorney General Jeff Sessions went public with the reasons why Andrew McCabe was fired. And he lied. He lied multiple times under oath. He's also involved in a much bigger controversy than just lying, and that is the Inspector General's investigation into how the FBI has handled, the Hillary Clinton matter. And that's something that we haven't seen that report yet. So that's something that we're expecting to see in May from Inspector General Horowitz. And I think this is incredible because remember, Sean, I was reporting over a year ago what was going on inside, the Washington, D.C. field office with the FBI. There were, former FBI agents and law enforcement officials that I spoke with that had said, Andrew McCabe was really dead set on getting Michael Flynn, who was a former national security advisor, that he wanted to find any way that he could get him for lying. When the agents went and interviewed Flynn, one of them being Peter Strzok, they returned back to the FBI field office and basically stated that they didn't believe he was lying. We reported that, and then later Comey testified to that fact and stated that those FBI agents didn't believe that Flynn was lying, and still the special counsel, Robert Mueller, was able to get him to basically plead guilty to one count of lying to the FBI. And that's still a mystery to a lot of people. People attribute that to maybe he was trying to protect his son. Maybe he was trying to, he was exhausted from, the legal fees and what it was doing to his family. And so he buckled down to the special counsel. Well, right now, the guy that wanted to take Flynn down and all these other people is now facing the same exact charges, except it's more egregious. It's written in stone. It's in an IG report, and we see that he deliberately lied. Not only did he lie, think about this. He threw other FBI executives, people that he had worked with, under a bus. He basically lied. He allowed the leak to happen. And then he calls later to New York field office and reprimands the New York field office for the leak. I mean, this is what the IG discovered.
I'm looking at all of this, and I still, to both of you, and I'll ask David first, I go back to this. I cannot believe that James Comey admitted this week he doesn't know what's in the dossier. Well, it's possible. It could be true. And I mean, that is stunningly spectacular to me. Nobody in the media talks about the ramifications of this, which is that you have a Hillary Clinton, funneled money through a law firm. That's an issue. Using a foreign national. I thought that was a big issue. Who gets Russian government sources and Russian sources, creates a dossier. Nobody verifies or corroborates it. And they use it as the basis, the bulk of information for a FISA warrant. And they don't tell the FISA judge they didn't verify it. Fusion GPS didn't verify it. Nobody verified it. And a lot of it's debunked. And then on top of that, they don't tell the judge in 4 instances, the original application, 3 subsequent applications that in fact, David, it was Hillary Clinton that paid for it. How do you do that? That's lying to a judge.
You do it because there's no accountability in the system. That's why the ex parte part of the system, allowing a prosecutor unilaterally to make representations to a judge with consequences this severe, is almost unheard of. There's an exception since 1978 with this FISA court, but that's why the judges there take it very seriously and have to be livid about what they are starting to learn happened. But it's no accountability, first of all, until you started raising these questions, and now Congress is following that lead. There wasn't any, and there would not have been. That's why, by the way, the criminal justice system itself is intended to be an adversarial system. And so a primary principle is to investigate the investigation from the start.
And this is the irony. Assuming that Rod Rosenstein, Bloomberg's correct today, tells the president he's not a target of Mueller, that means they never found any Trump-Russia collusion. That's what it means. And now we're on to Stormy.
And Sean, it's a fact. I mean, they've all come out and said they don't have evidence. If there was evidence, it would have leaked. Look how much is already leaking out there. Look at all of the information that's already out there, and they still haven't leaked any direct link between Russia and President Trump's campaign.
And it doesn't exist, or else they would have found it. All right, we'll take a break. Well, that's another thing. There was Russian collusion. Hillary paid for Russian lies, and then they used it to get a FISA warrant to spy on an American citizen that they didn't verify. And it happens to be a member of an associate of the Trump campaign. This whole thing is outrageous if you believe in the right to civil liberties in this country. This is more dangerous than anybody really knows. We'll continue. More with David Schoen, Sarah Carter. All right, as we roll along, Sean Hannity Show, 800-941-SEAN. All right, breaking Bloomberg. Rosenstein told Donald Trump last week that he isn't a target of any part of Mueller's investigation. Then, of course, we have a report. Andrew McCabe has now been criminally referred by the Inspector General to the U.S. Attorney of D.C. That's some pretty big news. Then we had the criminal referrals yesterday from Congress. What do you think, Sarah, happens with the criminal referrals, the DeSantis, of course, referral, and then Mark Meadows and Trey Gowdy and what they're doing?
Well, I think, first of all, now we have multiple criminal referrals on McCabe, so I think he is in really hot water. I think he understands he's going to be facing a lot of legal challenges in the near future, and his defense is going to be very weak since he's already been investigated by the Inspector General thoroughly. I also think there's going to be more information coming out. I think as far as the criminal referrals sent by Representative Ron DeSantis, I think it's about time. His list of referrals, particularly with regard to Hillary Clinton. I mean, if you're looking at the fact that they did not disclose in their paperwork during the campaign that they had paid for this, they sent it through the cutout, through their attorney, and paid for the dossier for the research on President Trump. I also heard something very interesting from somebody I was talking to in the intelligence community who brought this up. Look, the FBI relied on this dossier, which was basically put together by an ex-British spy and all of these Russian agents and Fusion GPS. We have intelligence agents all over the world. We have FBI working counterintelligence. We have CIA. We have people in all kinds of departments. Why weren't they collecting this information? If this was really out there, I mean, you would think that our own intelligence agencies wouldn't have to rely on foreign intelligence to bring charges. Yeah, to bring charges against the president.
I'd like to just jump in on this subject.
We've got about 45 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, the piece that Sarah wrote yesterday is the definitive piece on this issue. If you think people aren't interested, had over 200,000 hits right away. One of the many reasons people are so interested is this is a fascinating constitutional battle playing out in public. For the first time in a long time, we're seeing Article 1 members of Congress flexing their muscle into the void where there has been no action. People talk about the president acting so powerfully. This president has been very laid back in terms of the power he could be exercising. He could be taking much greater control of the Justice Department if he wanted to. Article 2 gives him that power.
It's such a good reminder. Everybody forgets that, and he does have the power under Article 2. I got to let you both go. Thank you both. Great work. We'll see you both on Hannity tonight. Kellyanne Conway coming up next.